Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Monday, July 28th. So I thought we'd get back on track. I know I got sidetracked with stories, but we all have stories, right? And the older we get, the more stories we have. And if you're young and you haven't got a story yet, you will. But I can pretty much guarantee, even if you're in your teens and early 20s, you've got stories. We all have from those times. So today we're going to be looking at, you know, Amos, you know, hit the head of the nail. You really need to look over what you're going to buy and what you need to look for. So stay tuned. Alrighty, so welcome back. My name is Eric, and this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. It's available on podcast as well. So today's Monday, and today I thought we'd get a little bit back on track because this is a small engine repair channel, right? And we fix a little bit of everything, don't we? Whether it be the heart and soul or it be a lawnmower. We all need to be well-rounded. So the biggest thing that I see out there that you really have to be careful of are the guys exactly who Amos just said, that are buying and selling and fixing up and then peddling it. Now, that could be any one of us, right? But you're walking a fine line there, okay? If you're buying and doing a service or fixing some minor stuff and then selling it, hooray for you. That's 100% right. If you're buying stuff and you're covering up issues, then you might want to rethink it. You know, it may make you a fast buck, but it's going to create a reputation. And the last thing you want is a bad reputation. You know, the old saying that bad news travels a heck of a lot faster than good news. But we all do it, right? We all do it to a certain extent. You know, like when it comes to the farm tractors and that stuff. Once I bought them, we go through them and we do a complete service. You know, I wouldn't be too concerned about milkiness in the transmission hydraulics because if it sat over the winter and it's got a loose boot on the shifter, and I know you would too, Amos, we just drain it and put new filter and new hydraulics in it. But when you start seeing like a rag stuffed into the one pipe and you can't get the radiator off, and all of a sudden when you can, the cap, and then you see it full of crap. I see that a lot with lawnmowers. Guys will come to me and want to sell their lawnmower because most of the time they've developed a reputation, and no matter how good it is, nobody will buy it because they've got a reputation of being cheap, of mix matching parts. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're taking 3 Craftsman 42-inch mowers and you're making a one really good one, there's nothing wrong with that. Or with a Craftsman and a Husqvarna, their AYP, that the decks were manufactured from the same plant. They're the same stamped deck. So if you have a green Craftsman and you got a Husqvarna that's a 42-inch deck, and they're both either PTO or they're both manual, and you swap a deck, you're still putting on the correct deck. It's just the wrong color, and that green with the orange deck is going to stick out. And I can tell you, it's hard to tell that to customers. We s- we what's the best word for it? We strip them, okay? And I'll be honest with you, we get 150 for a deck, fresh off a lawnmower. If the motor's bad on it and somebody wants the deck, it's 100 and a half. And that comes with all the spindles, belts, lifts, what have you. And if we have a machine come in that is the deck is toast, the machine is falling apart, but it's got a good V twin Briggs on it, we pull it. And why do we pull it? Because we get $10 a horsepower. So if it's a 22 horse, there's $220 for taking 4 bolts and dropping the pulley or the PTO clutch. Do we sell used PTO clutches? Absolutely. We take them off, tag them, what they came off from, and then put them on the PTO clutch shelf, used. There's a lot of salvageable parts that you can save off from, toasted machines for your next build. And if you have everything labeled correctly, then it should be pretty easy to, okay, so rack 7 is holding the PTO clutches. I just had a customer come in and had one burnt up. What is it? What did it come off from? And then match it up to see if you have one on your shelf. If not, you're buying one. But some of the stuff that I've seen, over the past few years is the customer has a lawnmower for sale and they developed a knock where they didn't have enough oil in it because they never checked it and they hadn't serviced it since it was brand new. Those guys, I've seen them, the fixer-uppers, put 90 weight oil instead of 10W30 or 10W40 or 15W40. They put 90 weight, the heavier oil. And it kind of covered up that little bit of a knock to a certain extent. And when you pull out the dipstick, you'll know it because it just slowly drips off. What are some of the other things? Now, we had a customer once with a side-by-side. It was a Gator. And the son, which was in his 40s, said the engine was toast and it wasn't worth fixing. He would like to sell it. Well, his mom come over because he lived in a building out behind his mom and said, look, you don't listen to him. That's my side-by-side that he has down there to use. Can you fix it? Because at first, we're getting somebody calling us to see if we'd be willing to buy a Gator, a used Gator. The son's saying it's toast, and the mom is asking us because she is a good customer of ours for services on her lawnmower, and she's got a Bobcat side-by-side that's only a couple years old that we do a service on that for her. So she said, don't pay any attention to him. He doesn't own it. My question to you, Eric, is do you think you'd like to take a shot at getting it fixed? Because I really can't afford to find something else for him. And he's got a track record, okay? A wicked track record. She's got a Troy-built 42-inch deck mower. And we've been called for a dead battery a couple of times. And he leaves the key switch on. I think he just doesn't want to mow the yard. And when I went up there the last time, the belt was hand engagement, but the belt itself, even disengaged, was around the front pulley on the engine, and it was kind of taut. And the minute you hit the key switch, it didn't have enough to spin it. So I loosened up the deck belt all the way around and make sure that it was free in the front, and it started right up. So this past time, the end of last week, she called again. So this time, I had just bought these two from another customer of mine, and it had a lot newer troy belt, a bigger troy belt, and it'd be an upgrade for her. So what I told her, I said, look, I'm coming up to get yours. I need to get it here and get it on the charger. Give it a boost and then a slow trickle charge to see if it's going to hold. See if that battery's any good, because there's no sense in me going out and buying you another battery if Nimrod is going to screw it up. She said, fair enough, Eric. So we took it up and dropped it off because she wasn't there, and we grabbed her mower and put it on the trailer. The following day, I get a call from her. It's left on the answer machine down at the shop Saturday that the son went out to mow and this one is dead. Well, I know this one isn't dead because he's probably not got something in place right. It's a hydrostatic. It's different than the one that he's used to. So we'll have to go out and figure out what's going on with that while we charge up her battery to see if it's healthy enough to make it through the end of the season. But getting back to that Gator, all right? So we got the Gator, and we got it started. Smoke. It just, great if you got, them little punkies, no-sees that bite the hell out of you. If you had that smoke, you wouldn't have to worry about it, but you couldn't see where you're going either. But I got it started and drove it up onto the trailer. And we got back to the shop. And the first thing we do is we drain the oil. When we drained the oil, we realized it wasn't motor oil. And the more I looked at it, I said, Claude, you know what that is? He goes, yep. And it's two-cycle. I said, yeah, it is. It's two-cycle engine oil that you use to mix for outboards and two-strokes. But yet he had filled that engine with two-stroke oil instead of standard. It's better than nothing, but it's so thin that it can go up past the rings and provide smoke because you got all that lubricant. So once we changed the engine oil to 10W30 full synthetic, Claude pulled it outside and it smoked for a while. She's trying to burn off the excess crap that was already in it. And we put in a new plug because it almost fouled the old plug. And just let it run for 8-10 minutes, and you could see it getting less and less and less until she was running good. So I went in and I called her and said, good news. We figured out what the issue is. And this is what it is. Nimrod put two-cycle engine oil in the crankcase on your Gator. She's like, oh dear. She said, well, you got it there. Would you mind doing a service on it? It hasn't had a service in a few years. And I said, absolutely. We'll take whatever work we can get, right? So we went ahead and did a service on it and got it back to her. Now, it's her call of whether she lets Nimrod have it again. I told Nimrod, if it comes to needing oil, and that stuff, we'll take care of it. Don't try to figure it out on your own. The sad thing is we hadn't seen that in probably 2-3 years. Once she got her new Bobcat, she kind of let the other one, but she had the oil filter and the oil stuff, and the son was supposed to change the oil. But getting back to the video is, is when you're out there and you're looking to buy something, you know, I can tell you what I look for, like on a push mower. The first thing I look at is the blade, the deck, because those are the first things that go wrong with them. Compression on the engine, and what kind of shape are the cables. Is the general overall condition good superficially, but has it been abused? Because you can tell when a customer doesn't take care of their stuff. And those kind of buys are 50-50. And why do I say 50-50? Because sometimes, no matter what you do to it, you can't bring it back to where I would feel comfortable selling it to one of my customers as a good used push mower. And the second thing you got to do is you got to know your market, guys. It's going to vary from where you are to where I am. But up here, you know, a good push mower, used, older, $50 to $100. All right. A good push mower that's self-propelled, you know, you can get maybe $100 and quarter, because I mean they're selling for $300-$400 now. So you got to keep that in mind of what do I got to do to it, because your time is worth something. If you're just looking at what parts I had to put into it and then what profits can I make, you're missing the boat, because you got to figure in your time. And if you figure in your time and you're getting $2 an hour, you're probably not buying that right. Most push mowers that I buy between 20 and 50, depending on what they are. All right, so let's jump over to riders. What do I look for when I see a rider? First thing I do is I check the dipstick, see if it's fresh oil. Because I've seen people put fresh oil when they get ready to sell it, and it's run on old oil for a long time. So I check that. If it's got liquid cooled, check the radiator like Amos says. You want to find out whether they put bars leak in it or some other crap to try to seal leaks up on it. Most of the liquid cools that I see are John Deere with the Kawasaki engines. And the engine sits on, or the radiator sits on top. So a lot of times it's not privy to all the crap that's around it. Then I go to transmission. And if it's hydrostatic, how well is it moving? How much noise is it making? Is the level low in it? And that's why she's whining. And how long has the customer been using, or the person that's trying to sell it, how long have they been using it with that loud of a whine? Because you can take out a hydrostatic transmission too with not enough fluid in it and it surging and going through the pump. If it's a standard, I check every gear. And when I say a standard, like some of the Troy builds, they have like the park and then first, second, third, fourth, all the way up to 10. I put it right up to 10 and I start off to see what, and then I work my way down to make sure it's working correctly. So you got your engine and you got your transmission. Those are the two biggies. Then the next thing is, what does the deck look like? Are the idler pulleys seized up because of lack of lubrication? Front spindles. I've seen those where instead of putting bushings, they just keep running them until it takes out the rim and all. Yes, I've seen that. And where it goes up through into the frame, I've seen that where that's, because it's all kind of pressed frame, I have the spindle shoot right up through the front wheel spindle. Then I check the condition of the belts. Okay, so if it needs an oil change or if it needs new belts. I take that into consideration when I'm trying to formulate a price. But again, it boils down to what can you, on a good day, get out of it? And then what's your I got to get rid of it today price? So you got two prices in mind. And I can tell you, with our customers, is usually in the spring of the year is when they're looking to buy. All right. And I would say probably by June, the middle of June, most people that needed a lawnmower have already found one. So if you're looking to buy to sell, a lot of times what you're also looking at is you're going to have to have a storage area so you can store them through the winter so that they're ready to go in the spring. Now I have customers later than that ask, do you have a good used push mower or do you have a good used rider for sale? You know, that's not uncommon, but the big push is in the spring. And a lot of times people are getting their income tax money back, and that's what they're using to buy these used lawnmowers or snow blowers. You know, snow blowers, again, they're a good sell in the fall. By the time you're headed towards spring, people are not thinking snow blowers, and they'll put off that purchase till the following fall when they're thinking about snow again. So you got to keep all those things in mind, right? So I'm going to start wrapping this up. Because I know I missed a few like Spark and that. What do you guys look for that are buying them to resell? Are you figuring in your time? Your time is worth something, right? Let me know in the comments. And you guys that are, lifelong mechanics who worked on this stuff, and when you're looking to buy, what are you looking at when it comes to a lawnmower or a snowblower, rider, push, you name it. So on that note, you guys have a great Monday, and we'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning.